Hello, hello. How are you? Welcome back to Life Trials by EAC with yours truly. What's going on? How are you? Thank you again for joining me on this beautiful, lovely summer Saturday afternoon here on the east coast of Florida in Davie. It is about 4:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, if you would like to support this podcast, please visit elizabethcharnay.com. You can either click or visit the link that is scrolling beneath your screen, or if you're listening in, you can just visit that website on your own time. And please subscribe to all the platforms that are hosting this podcast, along with subscribing to my YouTube channel, because that is critical for my growth, guys. Okay, really, 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 I need it, please. Without further ado, in today's episode, you know what we're talking about today? Politics. So, as I always love doing, I wanted to bring to you guys the daily debacle of today's political news. And today we will be elaborating on where the relations are between the United States and Russia and where it stands as of today, especially after the G7 summits and that disastrous meeting between Biden and Putin. The biggest issue I first want to tackle is how the refusal of the current administration in leading that press conference right after their meeting, and to have them both conducted side by side, honest to God, was probably the worst disastrous thing that they have done as of today. And they've only been, in power for about 5 months now, and allowing the United States of America to be reprimanded by a socialist dictator like Putin, and to have seen how he went above and beyond to assure that he put our internal conflicts that are ensuing in our political affairs at the forefront on the global stage for everybody to see, for everybody to know what's going on. It's crazy how he even went into detail and mentioned January 6th. That was a good one. He also even went into discussing our race relations with respects to Black Lives Matter and how we allowed such criminality to ensue itself last summer, the destruction of property and billions of dollars. I mean, it was a very uncomfortable situation to watch as an American citizen, and especially somebody that is, fairly political well-versed. I was really uncomfortable. However, specifically today, I want to discuss more about the implications of such talks from all aspects, the environment in which these meetings took place, our president's posture, the political chess moves, and what is to come from this summit into the next few years of this administration if they do survive. More specifically, I want to talk about the G7 summit, the outcome of that useless situation that I don't know why we're still involved in this little summit thing. I would also like to discuss the press briefings that led up to the meeting with, President Putin, the meeting with himself, and, the articulate manner in which the U.S. was brought to its knees during those news conferences, press briefings, I'm sorry. And finally, want to conclude with what is to come for the U.S. politically speaking from this mess. Excuse me. So the G7, I don't know, why we still even, attend these things. But I guess the U.S. has to be a leader in everything, because we are the world's police. So let's first discuss what happened there at the G7. A lot happened, but not much of it was to the benefit of the United States, but was more beneficial to those other countries. That's for sure. They highly benefited from this little event. As you could tell, they were all super happy that Donald Trump was not there. Felt very at ease, and that, they really didn't have much to worry about with respects to assuring that they pay their fair share. Just They're like, yay, let's continue taking advantage of the United States and its citizens and their tax money. So majority of what was discussed entailed some really crazy promises of just, more vaccines and just more climate change initiatives. The outcome and key takeaways supposedly were that the U.S. was no longer in pursuit of the America First agenda, which made our allies extremely happy. But we were back though. But we were back in the sense that we were there to, once again, be taken advantage of and just pay for everybody else's fair share. Being more cooperative and being easily coerced by foreign powers is back. The Obama days are back. That's really what happened at the G7 summit between President Biden and the G7 leaders of the other nations. I don't know if anybody saw Trudeau and how happy he was to see Biden, and how the president of France was just, there was some video clip that was taken by, I forgot what news outlet, but he had his arm behind Biden and was just nodding his head like, yeah, whatever the fuck you say, yeah, we're gonna take advantage of you and rip you guys a new asshole and make your country broke again. That's for sure. And they're definitely winning on that. Was there really so much to take away from that G7 summit? Not really, and it's sad. Like, it is really sad. Everything was just about COVID-19, global warming initiatives, like assuring that, we supposedly phase out coal-fired power generations at home. They don't even want you to use your refrigerator and your microwave anymore. They want you to use some other shit. And they want our country to invest in new coal-burning power plants, as well as those that need to invest in this in the developing world. So it literally makes no sense. And the leaders committed to offering developing nations $2.8 billion to help them switch to cleaner fuels. No mention about the China virus at all. But, and then the other thing was, America's back. America's here to be taken advantage of, as I reiterated about a few minutes ago. And one of their other initiatives is to, put this insane minimum 15% corporate tax rate and attempt to, I guess, start to break up these multinational companies, tech giants. I'm all right with that. They want to further protect the global financial system that apparently is being impacted by climate change. So I'm telling you, the G7 was, I don't know what the purpose was, but there was no benefit to the United States. That's for sure. Okay, guys? So that's, I don't even know where to end with that. But once again, this administration is really doing a disservice to this country, because a lot of these initiatives that President Biden promised, I guess he forgets that, like, our country is a democracy and we have branches of government that, you kind of have to, like, follow, and the executive branch doesn't make laws. It's the legislative branch. So yeah, Biden's gonna have to, take those promises back, because can't really be doing executive orders for 4 years and assume that that's going to be an enforceable legislation, because it's not. A lot of these things that he agreed to are not going to be accepted by the everyday American citizen, because it's going to impact their lives in such a negative way that it will not be sustainable, at least in this country. So he's going to have to go back on his word, and they're not gonna like that, but nobody told him to overpromise something that he cannot deliver. So something I also found very interesting about this current of events that occurred last week, Biden's press briefings that led up to the meeting with Putin. Oh my God, eso estaba de madre de pinga que le parió la mierda de ese hombre. The meetings were so bad. And unfortunately, here's, when the full-blown embarrassment to our nation occurred, when, the president was asked the question as to whether he still considered President Putin a killer. And this is where he stumbled and was not aggressive enough to our adversary, and instead deflected and went on this weird trance for a few seconds where it just looked like, the guy had fucking Alzheimer's, could not even remember what was even stated to him. So he went on this insane tangent about him laughing too, and him feeling, okay with not calling Putin a killer anymore. So made himself look very weak. He made the United States look very weak, and was not challenging to Putin in any capacity. And it was here where you saw the very awkward dialogue between President Biden and the reporter when, the president went into this really insane, weird, stare and stuff. I'm assuming he was trying to think about what he was going to say and stuff, but he just looked so weird, bizarre, and weak as fuck. It was so bad for the United States. Man, that's for sure. It was just so bad for us. Made us look depleted, weak, like a bunch of bums in the back of a bus, literally. And then the global leaders are the ones that are driving that fucking bus, let me tell you. And when you look at the news reports of this specific incident, it's like as if it never happened, or it was altered, honestly, to make President Biden look strong, when on the world stage, he made himself and America look the weakest it has ever been perceived on the global stage, and I don't even know how long. And interesting that I found this specific G7 summit that followed with the meeting with Putin. I found and stumbled upon an article that discussed, it's from Foreign Policy. Obviously, we all know that's a leftist news source outlet, or whatever they proclaim themselves to be. And it's funny, when President Trump, which I miss so much, when he had his summit with President Putin, the news articles that were written about that specific meeting were almost as if they were catastrophic for the United States, when in reality they were projecting that the United States was in a position of power, not a position of weakness. And this article that was, written up by Foreign Policy, and the title of the article is The Takeaway, 3 Key Takeaways from Biden-Putin Summit. Moscow and Washington have turned a page from the Trump era. I don't know what that means, but one of the specific details of this specific article that stood out to me was, sorry. So they went on this tangent specifically to first address Trump bad, right? They first went on to, diminish the authenticity and the value of the meeting between Putin and Trump to, I guess, try to assert some type of, analogy between what had happened at the Helsinki summit was a radical departure from that, when it's a complete farce on its face. The meeting from this past week in Geneva is a radical departure from Helsinki. That's for sure. That's where they fucked up in the article. Okay. So, the article went on to discuss how the meeting between Biden and Putin, was something very spectacular, and that, we came from a position of power and we were projecting that power upon Russia. And they really wanted you to believe that this was a successful meeting, when in reality we got absolutely nothing out of it. Nothing. We just made ourselves look like a bunch of mojongs. Little, like when a little chihuahua takes a little shitty. That's what we looked like, okay? And to be quite honest with you, for them to insinuate that, the Biden-Putin summit is supposedly some radical departure from the Helsinki summit, the American news outlets at that time, when the Helsinki summit was occurring, they wanted you to believe that Trump was in cahoots with the country of Russia to interfere in our presidential elections, which interestingly enough, I'm surprised, but not really surprised, that, fast forward the time to where we are right now, it wasn't even addressed. The interference, the cyber warfare attacks. Biden literally gave Putin a list of things he cannot attack. So everything else that's not on the list, he is able to attack, because that's what he insinuated by creating this list. I mean, it is catastrophic what happened at this meeting for the country, our citizens, for our, technological infrastructures. I mean, just like what they insinuate in those articles about the Helsinki summit, that Trump agreed with Putin, that Putin did not interfere with our, the 2016 elections. Biden did almost the same thing. But of course, we have a very biased news outlet that, thinks that Biden. I don't know why I keep confusing the two, because Jesus Christ, they're just such different people, that's for sure. I mean, for our president to not in any capacity address any of the issues, especially what had happened to our, oil and gas infrastructure that happened, 2 months ago, that raised the prices of gas to an exaggerated amount, and it's still inflated as of today. The prices of goods and stuff like that are all skyrocketing. I mean, I can't even believe how much it is for a bag of lettuce. $5 for the pre-made lettuce. And you have Biden over here at this meeting not even addressing any of the issues that needed to be addressed. So he technically did the same thing that the news media sources insinuated that occurred during the Helsinki summit actually happened here. But of course, that's not going to be addressed in any capacity. You know what I'm saying? Because Democrat versus Republican. Republicans are never seen in any good light, even if they're doing the right thing at all times. In the news's eyes, they're never good. They're bad. It's a real, honest, scary situation we have here in our country. The honest, such a disinformation campaign that has been on full-blown war upon the American people, for us to believe that this current administration is doing better than what President Trump did with respects to addressing the issues with Russia. Nothing. He looked like a coward. Okay? Should have seen these pictures. You had our president not even looking at him, but had his legs crossed. And then you look at President Putin. He's sitting like a man with power. And then you have the other, I don't even know. It's so crazy. What bothered me the most was how the administration on the global stage, instead of addressing and, giving a counter argument to what the Russian president was, making such insinuations about our country, our president was instead smearing our political parties on the global stage, projecting his personal views on how he feels about the Republican Party. I mean, it was so weird. It was just so bizarre, to see our president, while he's overseas, diminish and devalue his own country. I don't know who voted for this guy, but you need to be checked in very quick. And to have him smearing the U.S. in such a very distasteful manner really shows how the Democratic Party works as of today. They don't care about principles, values, morals, being ethical in their policy implementation. Like, at least if they looked at you and said, you know what, we really believe in this, and this is just our, political beliefs, and these are our policy, this is our political agenda, and this is how we view it. But instead, it's as if, this is like, to be honest with you, it's either you believe or you view the political issues on the same page. If not, it's destruct, destroy, smear, go on a smear campaign, destroy the political party, the person's life, their livelihood. It's a phenomenon that has really been taken on full throttle by the Democratic Party. And you saw it for yourself during these press conferences overseas. Okay? So the big facade, the actual meeting that occurred, right? Obviously, as we all well know, the meeting did not go as it was projected to have happened, as what the administration wanted you to see, and as what we saw when both leaders held their own individual press conferences and how they took questions from the reporters. And I mean, it was just a stark difference between the two. That's when things went south from there. And you had the dictator of Russia, right, smearing our country, the greatest country on earth, where he manipulated questions that were addressed by reporters, and he was really good at that. Master manipulator. He flipped the issues when they had directed questions that related to human rights issues that occur in Russia. It was funny how, I mean, it wasn't funny, honestly. It was really scary to see how the dictator of a country like Russia would tell the United States, and moreover lecture us, right, to the world. So Russia was lecturing the U.S. for the world to see, okay, lecturing us on how we can't fix our own internal problems here in the U.S. And he didn't understand how we allowed for the senseless rioting that had occurred and all that lawlessness that ensued itself after the murder of George Floyd with the billions of dollars in property damage. And he didn't understand how those same criminals that have, committed not only property crimes, but have committed crimes against human beings, were not prosecuted in any capacity. But he also brought up and questioned the January 6th insurrection and how our sitting government killed a woman and has yet to identify the person who killed her, which is a federal officer, which she was killed on federal property. And, as well insinuated that, the law enforcement agency and the biggest law enforcement agency in the world, really the FBI, was, coercing people and incriminating its own citizens, and to get, our citizens to go against each other just to, I guess, indict certain ones that were involved in that January 6th insurrection. And I mean, I was just so appalled how he was able to take these questions from the reporters and flip it on its face and make it about the United States. And let me tell you something, that if that was Donald Trump there standing side by side, that would have never happened. That would have never occurred. But because of the fact that this president is not intellectually capable of even conducting a press conference side by side with another leader, is really scary. Okay. And it was honestly really embarrassing. It was really embarrassing for our country, that's for sure. And when you look at Biden's press conferences after this, meeting and stuff, this is an individual who can't even make one sentence sound logical or be able to form an argument and provide the reasoning to his argument. I mean, he was just simply making statements like that of how he gave Putin a list of, things that he cannot attack and that are off limits. I guess he forgot to address the things that are, supposedly on limits. I mean, it's really sad. And it's really scary how they were all pre-selected questions. Nothing was from a random reporter, international reporters. So it was only like CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and he already had the questions. But no. And those pre-selected questions really didn't address absolutely anything that had to do with the meeting itself. And to be honest with you, the one that came out of this meeting winning was Russia. It was not the United States. And any news outlet that says otherwise, they're lying. They're frauding the American population. They want us to be goats. I'm sorry, sheeps. They don't want us to know the truth. They just want us to obey, comply, inject, comply, and move forward. I can't. It's a lot. It was very overwhelming to see how bad those chain of events just really fell to a very, very bad place for this country. And to be honest with you, the next administration is going to have a lot to clean up. That's for sure. And to be honest with you, what is going to be coming from this? The G7 events led to absolutely nothing that benefited the United States or its citizens in any capacity, nor did the summit between Putin and Biden lead to any resolution, especially about the cyber warfare being leashed on the U.S. by Russia. And Russia literally went and said that the United States is the one that conducts cyber attacks against other countries. Even mentioned Canada. Whatever. And did you see any counter argument to any of the assertions made by the president of Russia, by Biden? Nothing. Just let him go and rip this country a new asshole. But, that's who a lot of these Democrats supposedly voted for. They wanted Orange guy out because they hated him so much that they rather have had somebody that will destroy the country from the inside out. And that's kind of like what you're seeing right now. And to be honest with you, I really expect for this to just continue and worsen over the next 3 years. So make sure you buckle up. Take out all your investments. I don't know, because I don't know if y'all been watching the markets lately, but it's just been crashing after crash after crash, especially after these meetings and stuff, because really didn't get any benefit or gain any concrete priorities settled. We just actually probably created more problems for ourselves. But hey, I guess that's what supposedly some Americans voted for. So I guess you just have to reap what you sow, I guess, Make sure you vote right next time. So I hope and really, really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Can't even talk today. Please also subscribe to my website I have a mailing form that can inform you guys of all my day-to-day activities with respect to the podcast. So it would be amazing for you guys to subscribe to all the platforms that are hosting my podcasts. And YouTube is the biggest thing that I need help with, and the only way I could do that is by having you subscribe to my channel. And I want you to also consider supporting me on my website, elizabethcharney.com, as any donation is enormously appreciated to keep this podcast running. Thank you again for tuning into Life Trials by EAC with yours truly. I love you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye bye.